Meanwhile, in September, South African retail sales grew by 0.9% year-on-year, following a revised 3.3% increase in August, according to Statistics South Africa. The rise was mainly driven by general dealers, which saw a 4.5% increase, contributing 2.1 percentage points. Moreover, retail sales for Q3 2024 rose by 2% compared to Q3 2023 and increased by 0.7% from the previous quarter. However, on a seasonally adjusted basis, retail trade declined by 0.8% in September, marking the largest drop in 8 months after a revised 0.6% rise in August. Standard Bank Group Head of South Africa Macroeconomic Research, Dr. Alna Moolman, provides insights into these retail sales figures.
Retail sales were reasonably sluggish in September with a month-on-month decline, although it was nearly 1% higher than a year earlier in volume or real terms. And at least in the third quarter, we see that average retail sales were higher than in the second quarter. So this should make a positive contribution to the third quarter's GDP data. Obviously, the consumer were confronting several headwinds in previous months, including higher inflation earlier, relatively high interest rates, fiscal drag, in other words, not adjusting income tax brackets for inflation in this year's budget. But the tide is turning. We've seen the first interest rate cut. Inflation is significantly lower, and it helps particularly that fuel prices are nearly 20% lower than a year earlier. And so in due course, we'd expect these headwinds that turned into tailwinds to support better consumption. It still remains to be seen exactly what the impact of the two-pot retirement reform is on consumption. We're clearly not seeing much of a support in the September data from that retirement reform that allowed people to access a portion of their retirement savings. It could be that they've utilized these funds for debt repayment rather than additional consumption, but it could also be that it is just delayed and that we rather see the impact in October. So that remains somewhat uncertain, but generally we're seeing a couple of tailwinds for the consumer in the coming months, and so we'd expect an improvement in retail sales as well.